So, Ember, how did you feel about your performance in that discussion about me?
It was tremendously not impressive. I mean, I started with very low expectations, but
Right.
we did get some good laughs. So.
Totally not a man. Welcome back to the Uncarved Block. Please, right now, like, subscribe, follow, comment, ding, whatever, share, um, so I can get this message out and get these criticisms out and let people know that people still on the left side of the spectrum and atheists are not all, we all haven't swallowed the Kool-Aid of this trans ideology nonsense. Um, so please do that. Thank you very much. A couple of weeks ago, I apparently started a little war. Um, as I said in one of my previous videos, I was on my way out, and when I go to Kroger, I, if I think about it, I bring my headphones and I pop on something, you know, usually a podcast or something, and sometimes a video, and I got a notification that said the show was on, and I was vaguely familiar with the host, so I started listening to it, and they started saying nonsensical things. So in the store, I would stop in an aisle and I'd type something and I'd go on, and sometimes I'd come back and there'd be a reply and I'd type another response. And got in my car and had to go pick up my carryout order. And when I was at stoplights, I would check again to see if anybody had commented, or if I was hearing something that I wanted to comment on, I would do that. One would think that's what the comment section is for. I mean, I don't know why there's a comment section if you don't want comments. So the two hosts who did not get a single call, I can relate, except they're far more popular than me. So it's kind of worse for them to not get callers than me, because I'm nobody with, barely, not even 50 subscribers. But anyway, I would do that. I would stop at stoplights and maybe type a reply when I got to the carryout. I told them I was there and I was typing replies, and they were like, "Why don't you call in? Why don't you call in?" I said, "Well, I'm busy." Well, apparently, being busy, getting dinner, driving, I mean, one could say that probably technically at stoplights, I'm not supposed to be doing it, but I was texting. But the law is, while I'm driving, certainly down the highway or on roads, while I'm physically moving, I certainly cannot be on my phone. Yet somehow that's not a good enough excuse for them. And I said in the chat, which we will see, and I said several times on Facebook that I would be happy to sit down with them and have a discussion. Well, I was on Facebook and it happened to be in my feed, and they announced they were going to have a show about me without me. So once again, I said, I'll be happy to come on. No reply, nothing. They just did the show. And I tried to stream and comment, but oh my gosh, it was so boring. And they went off so many tangents that it was a waste of time. And I finally quit. So we're going to go back now and look at this. And the offer does not stand anymore with Ember. Ember is extremely dishonest. And to give him too much credit, I think he's probably a little more intelligent than the other two. But because he clearly wishes to just talk behind my back and not have an honest conversation, that demonstrates that he is a dishonest interlocutor. And, I don't want to talk with dishonest people. The other two, I think, have just been, they've downed too much Kool-Aid and they can't think for themselves. But I would still be willing to have a conversation with them. As you will see, Eli, who is the other man on the panel, he doesn't really say much. He doesn't contribute much. And I don't know if he would be worthwhile to talk to anyway, but I would. So let's get into it and we'll see what he has to say. Also, apologies. I still don't know why, but Clipchamp is still doing that stuttering effect with the video, but I'm going to overlay it with images anyway, so you won't see most of it because I want to.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Transfactual. It's been...
Oh, right away from the outset, we see a problem. So you talk to these people, and what does trans mean? It means on the other side. Cis is on this side, and trans is on that side. So if you're transfactual, you're on the other side of facts, which would be fiction.
We've had, I don't even want to call it an incident because to give it that much credit would be a stretch. AJ and I did a show a couple of weeks ago. AJ's new show, Critical Call, over on Skeptic Haven. And we had a heckler in the chat who never got around to calling in and then made a video about how we never answered the questions he didn't call in to ask us. But it's so much worse than that.
Here is the first fiction from Ember's mouth. I did not call in to I did not make a video to ask the questions I would have asked when I called in. I actually responded to what they said in their video. So first step of Ember being a moron.
And Eli's joining us because he's one of the people that today's subject, shall we say, really does not like. So
you guys really need to learn the difference between sarcasm and dislike. I'm sarcastic with my friends. I'm sarcastic with my wife. I don't care. Eli said he was going to bully me. And, I've just made a joke, an ongoing joke that I'm still waiting. And, I quit talking to him until he replied on something else I said. And I'm like, oh, aren't you going to bully me? So, I don't dislike Eli. He's just not very bright.
Yeah, who are we talking about again?
It should be an adventure. What's that?
So who are we talking about again, by the way?
What's his name? I already forgot.
Yes. I'm so forgetful that I was important enough to have a 2.5 hour stream, or maybe it was an hour and a half, I forget, about me. But notice Ember's giggle is kind of still the same, but notice how he does this fake voice now, because when you take estrogen, it's not like testosterone. It does not change your voice. So Ember has created a fake voice for himself to portray himself as female. And it's kind of sexist because it implies that a woman needs a higher pitched voice to be a woman.
The interesting thing about this particular person is he has actually been on Skeptic Haven before. A year or two ago or something, there was a discussion about whether Jesus was a myth or something like that. A bunch of scholars were on, and also he was there.
Godless Engineer was there, so like that's a big opportunity.
And a bunch of interesting people, several friends of the community, and also he was there for over an hour. He didn't say anything. I believe he got one sentence in around the 42-minute mark, and it was something non-committal, like "Yeah, I think so," or something like that. And then he was silent until the end of the show when everybody was doing their plugs, like "Find me on Godless Engineer," that sort of thing. And then he made a video about what he would have said in that conversation that he was physically present for.
You were there. You could have said the things.
So we've got more of the same person.
So I had mentioned either in the chat or somewhere else, possibly on Facebook, that I had actually been on Skeptic Haven, ironically enough. But I had actually forgotten about the show that Ember is referring. I was mentioning a debate I had with this even more of a moron than these three people, a guy called Alejandro. Some of you may be familiar with him. I think I've got a growling dog over there. I don't know what's going on. So I was on that show, yes, and producer Wes, had invited me because he knew I had an interest in it. Okay, but I was inexperienced. I'm still inexperienced, but as far as this live stuff goes, and I was inexperienced, and I was excited, and I knew David both from his books and on Facebook. We have chatted. I didn't really know GE, and I didn't know the other two, and I didn't know the host mod. So there were no rules going in, and I didn't watch a lot of these panels, and so I went in with the assumption that, one, I'm not the most important person on the panel. I'm not the host. I'm not someone who published 3 books on the matter like David, and I'm not a person who had an active and large audience for his videos, Godless Engineer. I didn't know Oz. That's the one, and forget the other guy, the only historicist on the panel. So I didn't know any of this. Wes just said, jump on. I was like, okay, I'll jump on. And so my assumption was that the moderator would gear the chat. Well, for the most part, and you can pop in at any moment, and you're likely going to hear either David or the historicist talking for the most part. GE does get some time in, but it's mostly David and the historicist. And I think Oz gets a little bit of time in. And even the moderator gets a little time in. So, I'm just sitting there waiting to be called on. And I figured if they didn't want to hear from me, they wouldn't call on me. And finally they did at the end, the very end of the video, in which I said, I would rather talk about Paul because Paul becomes for the Gospels. David and the historicists, in my opinion at the time, were too focused on the Gospels, which come later after the Jesus myth is already established in people's heads with Mark. I think Mark probably created the popular narrative that the other 3 ran with. And if they want to ridicule me for that, that's fine. I mean, obviously, I can say a lot. So what they really should have gone to is this video, and I'll be looking like a fool if I can't find it again, because it was hard to find, and it is behind a paywall. But this was the video to which I was referring. And if they want to go back and find that and see how much I can say and what I can do, whether it's good or bad, they're free to do so. But, if they want to ridicule me for being polite, that's more dishonesty from them. So yes, later on, actually, I think it's going to be much later. It's probably going to be in a separate video. They will criticize my editing skills. Well, one, this is right now a hobby. I guess if I ever reach the point where I make any money, which I doubt, if I do, it'll be a very small amount because my audience is going to be very small because I'm not religious and I'm not pro-trans. So that kind of makes my audience very small. Except for people that are honest. People are honest and they're going to listen to me, then they could disagree with me, but not people like these, because as we will see, they do not listen. So I'm not going to do a retake. I'm just going to add that this person named Stacy, Apostol Stacy, was also on the show and did not say much of anything. In fact, did not add anything to the conversation at all. Just came in and said, well, this is over my head. I've got to go out on a date. So bye. So why was she on the show? I mean, okay, just, I don't mind you criticizing me, but just be consistent and criticize Stacy for not saying a word and not even being knowledgeable about the topic and being on the show. Why the hell was she there? And I also wanted to add, I also forgot. See, I forget things. I'm getting old. And as we will see in another video, they're ageist. They make fun of older people for having issues with their mind. And they're going to make fun of that. Yet they want to take the high road and say that I can't make fun of them. Or if I do, they're going to get mad and I'm an asshole. And jackassery. But their ageism is not jackassery. Because a lot of older people suffer from small cognitive disadvantages. And one of mine is sometimes I can't recall a word. I mean, the word's there, it's in my head, but I can't recall it. So sorry for the digression, too much of a digression, but there it is. But they're guilty of that too, so I can be guilty of it, right? I've also done 3 other debates with Alejandro, and I did one with this guy named Victor. And if they want to go back and judge me on one video, judge me on all of them, and you will find 5 or 6 where I have quite a lot to say. Might be worthless, but I do have quite a lot to say. But they are ignorant of that, and they just want to go on this one video. And also, I did use a pseudonym for that one time against Alejandro for reasons that I don't have to go into for anyone. And so that's why they couldn't find me. So it's not entirely their fault. But there it is. So they are wrong. And part of that is ignorance on their part. But they're also showing bias, favorable bias towards Stacy for not saying a word. And, you know, if my reasons for not saying anything are not acceptable to them, I don't care. Those are on the Mirror Point, as I said. I will hopefully remember to link to them in the description. If I don't, just remind me and I'll take care of it. But those are on the Mirror Point, and Scott, host of the Mirror Point, has discussions every Saturday around 12 or 1 Central, Eastern, I don't know, somewhere around there. But you can go to his channel and find out. He loves to discuss philosophy, and you can pop in and chat with him. He's pretty chill and a lot chiller than me. But so enjoy, and you can watch those debates and tell me how I did. The third one chronologically with Alejandro is, I guess it would be the 4th one, but the 3rd one on Scott's channel is pretty entertaining. For a while, it was the highest viewed video on the Mirror Point. So I had that honor for a while.
Now, first of all, a man who feels like he has to declare he's smarter than someone else, not a great look. Also, as we will find out when we get to his video, he has no idea who I am. Like, he refers to me as a man throughout his entire video, and he took an image of me over the intersex symbol. Like,
Oh, I have maximal confidence that you are a man. As far as the other hypocrite much, look at this. Joel has regular streams where he invites people to call in and chat with him. Have you done that, Ember? I would be curious. I would like to hear that conversation. But if you hadn't, what do you call me at the end of this entire stream you did about somebody you don't know who they are, but and they're not important, but you're gonna make a stream about them anyway? What did you say? Oh, you called me a coward for not calling in when I was driving. So since you're stuck at home, from what I know, from the impression I have, why haven't you called into Joe? Are you a coward?
And his title isn't Trans People Are Crazy. It isn't Ember's a Dum-Dum. No, it's Atheists Are Illogical. And he himself is an atheist, but it's, right, except people like me. So this is huge pick-me language. It's, it's like the black people who saying that black people are a problem, insert problem, but not people like me, though. It's the pick-me thing. It's all women are stupid except women like me. It's
right. It's not all men.
Mm-hmm. It drives me a little bit nuts. So
achievement unlocked. Thank you. I'm so happy that irks you a little much or whatever. Yeah, it's a joke. It's a joke. And, it's a clickbait title. Lots of people are guilty of those. So are you. But I'm glad it irked you. So happy. Thank you. Thank you, Ember.
So he says, to demonstrate how illogical we are, he says, the errors they make covered. Men can't speak about women's spaces unless they approve of trans-entitled men. I'm not sure what the hell that means, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't know what man means either, but we'll get to that. Do not define woman/man or gender.
We did.
Is it an error to not define something that no one asked you to define?
It's very important when you do a talk like this, and I'm probably guilty of it myself, but certainly the main topic. If it is any way in dispute, you need to clarify what you mean by your topic. So you heard AJ claim, oh, we did attain a thing. We did. And Ember, is it an error? Well, yeah, kind of. So, so here we were. And to avoid talking past each other, you got to clarify your terms. So we're going to do this right now. And I will show where they never define gender. Okay, so here we go. Someone looks between your legs for 2 seconds and they assign you a gender, not defining it. Why does someone else get to determine a gender? Not defining it. Constantly rewriting, which is what happens when you're dealing with a social construct like religion or gender. Yeah, we are doing, haha. Not defining it. If you want to talk about gender, if you want to talk about any other topic, but today is going to be, the main focus is on gender, but you can give us a call. The number is right there. The link is pretty, sure. It's like, so, okay, make fun of my speech. Not defining it. It's going to be gender, the topic of today. Who gets to determine gender, right? Who gives doctors this authority to assign sex and gender at birth, which no doctor is? When people are saying gender at birth, which are people like you, people like me don't talk about gender assigned at birth, unless it's a synonym for sex. They're saying they assign this biological sex and therefore you have to have this gender which matches. You're not assigned a biological sex. It is observed. Let's see. I gotta try to follow the orange. As far as I remember, it doesn't say only doctors can confirm gender that I have created you with. 7 or 8 genders in the Talmud. I've seen this name before. Who says that no one is assigned? Oh, that was me. Gender at birth. Okay, so they were quoting me, so they can get by with that. Yeah, you can't be assigned a gender because you are your gender. Well, but they kind of do because so we always say that gender is a social construct, right? Not defining it. So they do kind of assign a gender, not defining it. A collection of stereotypes. So does that mean transgender is on the other side of a collection of stereotypes? Oh, here's 3 in a row. Their carved block is continuing to say, no, our sex is observed. You never change sex. And I don't think anybody's transgender, gender. The word gender is in there. Not defining it. Here we're talking about let's be kind and say gender critical conspiracy theory. It's young earth, it's flat earth, but applied to gender for political reasons. Oops, missed one. Oh, no, I didn't. One of our friends, Eli, says, so Eli talked to me in the chat. I didn't talk to him. I wouldn't even noticed he was there. It is being a woman who's basically someone who performs the gender of a woman. Okay, what is the gender of a woman? What is that? What is gender? Native Americans have specific genders. Keep it to 2 genders. Broad categories of gender varies, as you were mentioning. Third gender. Gender diverse. A different idea. Almost everyone has a different idea of what gender means and how many genders there are. That's why you should clarify what you mean about gender on a show about who assigns genders. As much as the gender criticals like to say anything else is new, no. Patriarchal gender system. I still don't know what gender is, so how do I know what a patriarchal gender system is? Why we call gender sort of a performance, right? Okay, so Ember is performing. I would accept that. All those ideologies of the 2 genders specifically, still don't know what genders are. Running around posting things today saying who's really behind the rise in transgenderism, and they show like photos of a bunch of people. Still not defining gender science. I don't know what the science of gender could be if I don't know what gender is. What makes you think either biological sex or gender are not spectrums? And then whoever this is, probably the smart one. because eye color, hair texture, skin color, skin texture as well, heights, weights, bone structure, they all, you don't have binaries in those. There's no binary. Okay. Bait and switch. Sex is binary. All those others are traits, which you can put on a bimodal graph of male and female, but when they cross over, it does not create a new sex. It's how these heights in women cross over with men's heights. But if you had those people standing by the other, if we lined up a whole bunch of people of varying heights and formed them into a physical bimodal graph, a 3D bimodal graph, either the women or the men would, the row of women and the row of men would be behind the others. Oh, and then we go down to the title. So that's it. So as far as I can tell from this quick search, and I'm not going to reread or re-listen to any of this, but if they ever define gender in the show, maybe they just didn't use gender around the time they defined gender, which would be awkward. Please let me know. But AJ is sitting there swearing up and down that she did define gender, or Ember defined gender. And as far as I can tell, no one defined gender on a show about who decides gender.
Is it?
It is.
I mean, Eli, so far this show, you have not defined what a mathematical fraction is. Does that mean?
Oh shit! I'm so sorry.
You
didn't realize my mistake.
What one stellar mass is. Is that an error on your part?
define all the things right away.
Yeah. just get it out of the way real quick.
Let me give you a little advice, Ember. That joke would work if this show was about mathematical fractions and stellar masses, and maybe if Eli was an actual expert. And it would also work if those terms did not have very clear meanings, whereas gender does not, which you guys demonstrated in your entire show. So, wow, kind of a stupid joke.
So we've also got the anachronistic application of genders in history and religion. Now, bear in mind, from Mr. Blockhead's perspective, gender and sex are interchangeable. So by his own reasoning, we're the illogical ones, but by his reasoning, sex did not exist before, what, 2015? Amazing logic. I love it.
Holy, unbelievable straw man, Batman. Wow. No, you ignorant fool. I did not say that. I said that gender can be a synonym for sex. Okay. And that there are certain gender norms assigned to each sex. So in our society, a woman is typically the one that wears a dress. That does not mean a man cannot wear a dress. And when a man puts on a dress, it does not make them a woman, because woman, I am consistent, is a biological term and not a term that somehow transfers the rights and responsibilities and duties of a woman to a man. Is that clear? Is that clear enough for you, Ember? No, they can be synonyms, and they have been for a long time. It's only people like you that try to force this different interpretation. As you said before, words have different meanings. Okay. However, you guys still have not defined gender. Gender can be a synonym for sex. It can be a term applied to languages. It can be applied to inanimate objects. We can say, my car is a she. But no, I did not anywhere say what you said, Ember. Why don't you show the receipts like I do?
For instance.
That's true.
Let's see, that trans and title men are not as much a threat as cis men. Again, I don't know what the fuck he means, but if he's talking about trans men, yes, we have crime statistics. Trans men are not really a threat at all.
Wow. So if you would have had me on, I could have explained this to you. But since you guys wanted to do your own thing and forcing me to do my own thing, we can talk past each other. If we do, I'll do my best not to do so. But, you know. Okay, a trans entitled man is a man. Again, I use this term consistently. Adult human male is a man who describes himself as trans and therefore attempts to dress as a woman and often pass as a woman and often considers himself entitled to bypass women's consent. So this is a man that identifies as trans and dresses as a woman, thinks he should be a woman or whatever, however you want to look at it, and is entitled to bypass women's consent. So actually, if a man chose not to bypass women's consent, I would call him a trans-identified man. Okay? So there you are, Amber. And I don't recall if I explained that in the video or not, but that is my own term. I created it. But no, I use my terms consistently. If I do say trans woman, did you hear that? Trans woman? Since AJ doesn't seem to like quote, unquote. So I would put woman in quotes. And I even did that in a group recently. And they were like, why are you calling them women? Oh, it's in quotation marks. Don't you get it? Oh my gosh. So even some TERFs can be pretty stupid. So yeah, that's the situation right there. Trans entitled men that think or want to be women, and then think they're entitled to bypass women's consent. Okay. You guys do not use your terms consistently. You have to put little adjectives in front of them that are unnecessary. And I'm consistent. And in philosophy, as I will probably talk about more than once, there is a term called univocal. In philosophy, you have to use your term consistently. I'm always telling people in philosophy that atheism means the belief there is no God. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. Because they have to be consistent. They have to be univocal in using their terms. A equals A. That's exactly what A means. A equals A means. It means that A can't mean anything else. This is just a basic thing of philosophy. And these guys don't know it.
This fellow, he's been on a bit of a rant for a while, right? And we know from digging a little bit into his background and the various rants he's given us in side chats that according to him, he used to be neutral on the gender thing, or possibly even a little bit trans supportive.
So again, they would have me on the show. I would explain this. And Ember has a very biased position on what peak trans is. He tries to talk about, I'm going to just cut it all out because he mistakenly ascribes to it how you potentially very aggressive acts. And that's not, not me at all, except maybe verbally. So here is peak trans as I mean it. And as you can see on this Wiktionary.org, as a noun, it's the moment when a person feels motivated to adopt gender critical or anti-transgender views. Okay, that's exactly what it was. It was the moment that caused me to adopt these views. And well, to really start pursuing them and looking into them and going, what the hell's going on? So that's what it was for me. It motivated me to start investigating this and adopting these views. And I didn't adopt these views because I wanted to. I investigated the matter, and especially knowing there are women and some men that do not want opposite sex in their spaces in sports. Actually, I don't know any men that don't want women in their sports, but anyway, there might be out there. I'm sure there is. But here it is. And Ember takes this term and makes it into something that it's not really. It can be, I guess, but that wouldn't be the way I would use peak trans. And if I would have been on, I would have explained that. But Ember, who sits here and goes on about words having different meanings, doesn't seem to accept that when it's not in his favor.
But his peak trans moment apparently was when he called Takis, according to him, last December. Now, that's the Transatlantic Call-In Show, which happens on the Line Network on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. First of all, that call was the previous January. And second, he was already on an anti-trans crusade when he made the call. And we know that because he made this video about the call where he's already transphobic. So, all right. All right. So another thing. First, Blockhead. He before this video even, he has other videos. At least one, I didn't pay that much attention, but I did notice at least one where he goes after Matt Dillahunty for being pro-human rights. So he's very much pro-trans before this, or pro-transphobia before this.
I just love how oftentimes I can just let it play and allow Ember to make a fool of himself. Okay, so here is my channel. And here is the chronology of things that apparently Ember just went on this. And these are very general 1 year ago. Okay, this is not March. Okay, this down here, this Gospel of John, this is not March. This is the first video I think I did. Classes. And mute these, so the rest will be mute when they start. Okay, this is a copy. Okay. So this is a copy. So here these are. And some of these are copies. And because they are copies of my live shows. So where is it? Okay, here's the one I think. It's been a while. So this was on, I thought they gave dates. There it is. I have to do that. So not 1 year ago, but November 21st, 2024. And as you can see, here's Matt Dillahunty and Captain Marvel, where Matt demonstrated to me, he finally convinced me of what a lot of people said about him, that he was a little pussy. I mean, he really did. Because I made a comment about Captain Marvel being a pretty sucky film, and he threw a hissy fit and think he somehow equates, I mean, you talk about logical fallacies. Matt equates money with a film being good. That's what Matt did. And that's all in that video. You can go watch it. And then I commented on Dillahunty versus Wilson. So this was on November 2024. Notice that my own, oh no, this was, yeah, I guess this would be this. Yeah, because I had to use their thing. So here's the call-in. Again, it says 1 year ago, but when you click on it, January 16th, 2025. So the video about Matt was 2 months before this video. So Ember is not very, didn't do his due diligence and research this stuff adequately. He just sat here and looked at all 1 year ago, and you really got to click on them because they'll do that if it's 9 months sometimes. Let's see what I don't have enough really to make an example. Let's see. Oh, that's that one. Okay. So these are the videos that were live. And these are the videos that are thing. So here's the one that was November of 2024. The call-in was, I didn't copy that to just a regular video. So that call-in was in January, 2 months later. So here's what I'm talking about Matt. This is a different video about Matt. It has nothing to do with anything as far as this goes, as far as this topic goes. And here is where I cut up that November 2024 video into two videos. One where I actually defend Amin Khalif, and I still do, for people making all these accusations about this person. They could be true, but they don't have evidence. And I'm always like, you guys need evidence. And here is just, I clipped out the part about, was Dillahunty right to rage quit? Okay. Now in this video, you will not find anything about me, anything that somebody should take as transphobic. Okay. You can watch it. It's, how long? 15 minutes. So go watch it. Hit this more thing, February 5th, 2025. Okay. This is a copy of a video 3 months before. A clip. What I say is, Matt was a pussy. Okay. That Matt shouldn't have walked out because he let fans down that wanted to see him. And two, doing so gave Andrew Wilson a huge boost. And Andrew Wilson is huge now. I mean, the guy is making money. I mean, they had an event in Nashville, I guess was it November? And he bought people dinner and drinks for a whole night. I mean, the guy's making money, and Matt contributed to that. You can go to his channel, as I say in this video right here. You can go to an analytics channel about YouTube, and it will show you the spike he got in November 2024. And Matt's responsible for that. So Matt is, by running out, throwing a hissy fit, playing crybaby, Matt left. Matt brought up trans issues in his opening. Okay, Matt brought that up. Now, that's what I think Andrew should have latched onto. Instead, Andrew latched onto Matt's own personal life. And you will see, might be a live one. Yeah, Andrew with some fibs right here. Okay, I'm not a fan of Andrew Wilson at all either. I don't think he really wins a lot of his debates myself, because you know why? He does not defend his own claims. So this was on March 27th. In his infamous debate, Andrew Wilson claimed he never said it, and he does. In the Q&A, which was just Andrew Wilson, he said he never mentioned Dillahunty's name in his opening. And I put clips from his opening of him saying, Matt. So he freaking lied right there in front of everybody. Or maybe he told the truth, but it was a falsehood. And if he believed that minutes after doing it before, if he really believes that, there's something wrong. But so I did that. I criticized both him and Matt. He lied in his opening. This is only 2 minutes. You can go watch it. Cut through of Andrew Wilson mentioning Matt. Let's see, did I clip where he claims that? Yes, I do. Okay. So here you go.
Dillahunty didn't say a word about anything about Dillahunty related at all.
Oh. But this is his opening.
He has no justification. He just kind of grants himself stuff. He grants himself logic. He grants himself reason. He grants himself an entire...
That's obviously not about Matt.
...worldview, even though he's using an...
But I assume it's about his opponent, which is Matt. So I don't know, Andrew, what are you doing?
...an unjustified starting position for it. Instead of that, I'm just going to grant Matt's entire... worldview. It's Matt's worldview.
Matt's worldview. Yeah, so, if Ember wants to pull this crap, Ember really needs to do his research, okay? So, once again, did the video on Matt in 2024. I think that's when this occurred. It might have been a year later. It might have been 2023 when they had this thing. I'm not sure. Clipped it later after my appearance on the Transatlantic. Now, if you want to know what my peak trans moment was, it was in my own local atheist group when the kerfuffle happened with FFRF, and they allowed a trans entitled man. Actually, no, I don't know what they are. So this person to say, write this whole paragraph, a whole page, and at the end go, a woman is whoever she says she is. Well, that's pretty silly. I know it's rhetorical. It's not rhetorical, but I forget the phrasing term. But anyway, so anyway, and Jerry Coyne wrote a response and said, no, here are the biological conditions for being a woman. Oh, they threw a hissy fit and they bullied FFRF, take it down. They bullied them. Okay. They bullied them. I don't care if it's bullying you'd like. They bullied them and had them take it down. And someone boasted about it in the group I was in. And I said, what was wrong with what Jerry said? He's stating biological facts. Oh my gosh. Oh, we're going to have to mute you for 24 hours because you're making people upset. What am I saying that's making people upset? Well, you just are. Yes, but what exactly? I mean, I've been called, what did they call me? Well, the person that made the OP was a trans entitled woman. So my terms, you know what that means. And they called me a bigot, and they said, and I said, I thought this was a group for free thinkers. And they said, well, calling yourself a free thinker is a stretch. I never insulted any of them. Unfortunately, they deleted, when you ban somebody, you can delete their recent activity. So all my comments got removed, and I can't demonstrate what I said. But so that was my peak trans moment, Ember. So now you know. So November, commentary about Matt and Andrew's debate. December, and actually it was like December 26th, because I went to go see Nosferatu in the theaters, and that's when it happened. I was actually there when I was like, I got the message from the admin, who was a Facebook friend of mine, and I noticed that I couldn't reply. Actually, I noticed I couldn't reply, and then I messaged him, and he said that was why. He told me, "Oh, you're upsetting people. Oh, you're upsetting people. Oh my gosh." And I finally got banned from the group because one of the admins got involved, and she was a cis entitled woman, and so I got banned. And that's what I said. Okay, I'm really going to look into this. And so to me, that's what started me on this path, and that would be my meaning of peak trans, the incident that started you down the path of gender critical. So Ember, you're wrong.
It gets convoluted with this kind of nonsense. The peak trans thing, he mentions in the description of the video we're going to be reviewing today, he suggests a channel, and I think he does it in a couple other videos, or comments under other videos, called Peak Trans. And Peak Trans is an interesting channel. A few people have asked me to cover one of her videos at some point or another, but I haven't found anything that's worth the time. But there is something interesting, because she also has a peak trans story. She apparently used to be like broadly feminist until she decided that some women shouldn't have rights in the name of women's
as you do.
rights. Yes, as one does. According to her, and this is published on her website, which I found because Logan linked directly to it, she tells a story. It's a very, very long story that has nothing to do with her peak trans moment until it does, which is actually like a paragraph or something. Maybe it's 2 paragraphs. I could be mistaken. Far be it from me to be mistaken about a text source, but that's a joke for later. We'll get to that. What's her name? Maria McLaughlin? Yeah, Maria McLaughlin.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yes.
So it sounds to me like they said McLaughlin. It's not McLaughlin. It's McLachlan. It's Scottish, and I assume Lachlan would be Lakeland. So please get her name correct if that's what you guys did not say. And oh, Ember, do you really think your material is worth it? I just do this because you're one of the few guys that have addressed my arguments. Well, that's using that lightly. I think Ember is very jealous that Peak Trans has 32,000 subscribers, and Ember only has about 2,000. Of course, Ember could say something about my number of viewers, but Ember's been at this a lot longer than I have, at least regularly. So anyway, that joke aside, probably didn't go over well, but there it is. So yes, she has a ton of material, and we're going to let Ember stick his foot in his mouth again, saying this stuff. Ember is going to claim that in the video that he is referencing, that Maria grabs a child. Now, maybe Ember's like me, and I'll call a 30-year-old a kid. Okay, but I've watched this video a long time ago. For one thing, the guy in the video, Wolf, who assaulted Maria, was throwing pansy punches at Maria, got convicted. So judges, or maybe a jury, actually looked at these videos and said, yes, they were at fault, and their little ringleader got convicted. In the spot where you will see Ember talking about Maria holding a child, that is a person in their 20s. Okay? That is a guy in their 20s. And Maria says that he knocked her camera down. It got knocked down a second time out of her hands. It got knocked down and broke it, but he was trying to get to it, and Maria was restricting him from that, and she was holding him from the back. Now, I would also point out, I don't think she did it, and I wish she would have, but I don't know how citizen's arrests work in the U.S. entirely, but in the UK, you can make a citizen's arrest. I've seen Steve James do it, Edge of the Matrix. He has grabbed someone and they have sit there smacking him, and he's just holding on to him, and he just kind of takes his head down to not take the blows as hard. But he held on to that person, and he did not get in trouble because it was a citizen's arrest. So I think Maria should have said citizen's arrest, and that way, there might be some better warrant to this. I guess you could make a citizen's arrest and you could be wrong, and then you might get in trouble, and that's the risk you take. But you do have that right in the UK. Now, Maria is 60. Well, at the time was about 60 years old. I don't know how old she is now. I don't think she's too ashamed of her age. So Maria at the time was 60 years old and getting assaulted by 20-year-olds. Okay. Ember is going to make light of this, and probably, I think Ember giggles at all this. And this really demonstrates the bias that Ember has. Because if I saw a 60-year-old trans person getting hit on by 20-year-olds in a video, I wouldn't be laughing about it. I wouldn't. And, does that make me a better person than Ember? You guys be the judge.
She recounts a tale on her site that she was engaging some trans activists at Speaker's Corner, and she was viciously attacked by these teen trans people. And that is what changed her mind. The fact that she was already there with TERFs shouting at them and harassing them, she was totally on their side. It was when they attacked her. But also, she links to videos that show this attack. So Maria, she linked to videos that people took of this incident where she was viciously attacked by the trans teens. So let's have a look at this. So this is Maria in the middle here with the purple hair, and there goes a teen running by to slap her camera out of her hands. Now, to be fair, that is not cool. That is criminal mischief sort of thing. But we can also see very clearly that the intention was clearly broadcast to be specifically at the camera, and it was an intentional property crime, but it is deliberately just a property crime.
Yeah.
And also, it's not even damaged, because we see in a second when the camera pans back to her, she still got the camera. It was on a strap. So hooray. I mean, that doesn't undo the attempt at doing damage, but whatever.
Luckily,
right?
Yeah, her property wasn't damaged.
Yeah, fine.
I just want to stab things with my head.
This video is silent, but the next two clips do have some sound.
Okay.
So she goes on from here to get in the faces of the protesters. She's trying to track the person. Okay. Whatever, I don't know if she's trying to track the person who swatted at her camera, but she walks face first right into the protesters. Whatever. So this next clip is from another person further back and off to the side. And there's Maria, who has her hands on a completely different teenager, apparently assaulting the shit out of them. And then we see the person who struck her camera run over and clearly hit her.
Yeah.
Which again, not cool. However,
yeah,
Maria
it seemed like she was trying to defend the other person from getting hit. But
right. When you see a person being assaulted, now this is in the UK, I don't know what UK laws are, but when you see a person being assaulted, it's generally considered acceptable to use the minimum necessary force to stop the other person from hurting the victim. You know? Not an ideal situation, especially since, as I understand it, this is Speaker's Corner, which means there were probably police around, but understandable. And then this is a third angle from a different person on the TERF side. And let's see. Coming into frame over on the right side here, as these people get out of the way, you're going to see Maria attacking the child again. That small black thing and the smack you heard, that was Maria's camera finally letting go, because Maria's in the middle of assaulting a child. It's fascinating to yell at male violence while Maria is assaulting a child. And then we see our swatter come in. Teenager away from her.
Again, you let Ember talk long enough and he'll just step right in it. So here it is. And this is from somebody. Irish Legal News is apparently very biased toward trans people and radical feminist. I mean, maybe she accepts that title. I don't know. But, she was warned in court. This person that attacked her, a 26-year-old person. Well, I guess, I don't know when this took place. Maybe they were 24. I don't know. But a 26-year-old person that at the time was clearly not trying to pass as female. You can tell by looking at them. You have to call them she. You have to call them she. So this person was assaulted and they're trying to make Maria cater to him, cater to her assailant, and call him she. But as you can see, the 26 years old was not a teen, as Ember has said repeatedly, was not a teen. Once again, this really calls into question the very integrity of Ember on everything, because Ember does not do his research. Ember just makes these blurts about the Bible, about St. Paul, about Maria McLaughlin, and does about me, and does not know what the hell he's talking about. So Ember should really do his research before he talks about people. Okay, so there's that, the age. And if you do a search, Maria McLaughlin assault, there was some association with Maria, with Graham Linehan. I don't know what it was. But then you see in this, Tara Wolf. I thought his first name was Wolf. You know, looks so feminine right there. Just looks like a woman right there. Was convicted. So a court of law looked at this and said, yes, he was guilty of assault, Ember. Okay, so I don't know what the hell you think you see, but witnesses were brought in, and just like Maria, they went through this thing very slowly to try to place everybody, because it can get very confusing about where everybody is. And they do not think that Wolf was formerly known Tara Flickwood, a trans-identified male. Oh, look at that. Wow. You mean they use my terminology similarly. So we can see, let's see, where was my train of thought? So anyway, convicted, yes. Ember's position that it was justified was not held up in court. Now, of course, you can disagree with that conclusion, but these are, assume the judge and maybe the, I don't know if they have trial by jury like we do. I don't know what the case was, but certainly there was a judge, whatever they call him over there, barrister, I don't know. Hopefully was not biased one way or the other, like we are, like Ember is, like I am, like Maria is. And because, you know, everybody's going to have their bias. And in this situation, I would definitely say that Ember has his bias for sure, because Maria's not worth his time. So 2-day trial, 24 individuals, mostly men with masks on, some with full combat gear, accompanied Wolf to court. Many were wearing the all-black uniform from Antifa, class war anarchist organization that Wolf is also a member of. So I think this is feminist current, so, you know, there's the bias. But still, it is a fact that Wolf got convicted. 2 of Tara Wolf's supporters. There's Tara Wolf right there, covering up. And so the feminist thing is saying that this is a Hyde Park. I don't know, Speaker's Corner is in Hyde Park. And it was a meeting called We Need to Talk About Gender. And Wolf was found guilty of assault by beating, more commonly known as battery. There you are. I would like to find an unbiased, less biased account of this, but I don't know if I can. But once again, Ember is wrong. They were in their 20s. So if you want to colloquially call them children, okay, but they were not. They were adults, and they were in their 20s, and they were assaulting a 30-year-old woman. Okay, if a 60-year-old woman grabbed my wife, and my wife and I were in our 20s, and a 60-year-old woman grabbed my wife, I would not go over and hit that woman. I would probably go over and put one hand on my wife and then grab the 60-year-old woman's hands and pull them off. Okay, that's what I would do, because I know that 60-year-old woman would not be able to keep their grip against me when I was in my 20s. And okay, and I want to apologize to Ember because I do not think Ember laughed at this incident. So there's my apology. Ember, as of yet, has not laughed at this. So I apologize for thinking you did. So what have we learned? Well, instead of me trying to list a whole bunch of stuff that we've learned, we really learned one important thing, that Ember, either intentionally or without due diligence, likes to strawman his opponents, misrepresent them, and say things that are out and out falsehoods, if not lies. I'm leaning toward falsehoods. I just don't think that Ember did his due diligence in investigating me and investigating Maria. That, Ember thinks 20-year-olds are children. And Ember thinks that someone knocking your camera to the ground and you shouldn't stop them from trying to get it. Okay. Maria was there. Ember was not. So if I lean toward Maria telling the truth, when there's at least some credence to the videos that her camera was finally knocked out of her hands and the guy was trying to get to it to do further destruction. And I assume it was a digital camera. And Maria was holding him to stop him. And Maria should have said, in my opinion, citizen's arrest. And that would have made it a better situation for people like Ember to not come in and criticize this. So again, apologies. Ember did not hear any Ember laughing. They did giggle about things, but I don't think it was about Maria being assaulted. So there we are. Wow, this video is long and there are, I think, 4 more half-hour parts and they haven't even really gotten to any substance from me. So wow, yeah, that's what we've learned, that Ember is possibly disingenuous, definitely misrepresents what I say, though. So I'm going to call those lies. Did not do diligence on the timeline of my thing, and didn't even recognize that I also criticized Andrew Wilson. And then what I said about Matt, didn't even watch the video apparently, because what I said about Matt just said he was a pussy for running away. That's it. I didn't say anything about, oh, well, if Matt wouldn't support them trans people, blah, 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 So Ember is a questionable person to me. Now, I really hope if any fans of Ember are watching this, you will look at this with a critical eye and maybe keep your mind open that Ember perhaps isn't as honest as she portrays. Remember, we don't know these people online. You don't know me. You don't know them. All we can do is show what was presented. And I have presented throughout this video where Ember is wrong. I have showed evidence that Ember was wrong. It's not my interpretation. It's Ember is wrong. Okay. And we've also learned that they will like to talk around somebody and pass them, and they are not willing to engage me person to person. And if they want to make the excuse, well, you're a transphobe, well, you will never engage anybody on this if you think they're a transphobe. Oh, except when you can control the mute button and the conversation. Yeah, that's what you do. That's what you guys do, don't you? Actually, you guys aren't as bad as the line. I've listened to some of your calls. And the line, though, and when I said in the call I made to the Transatlantic show that it went as expected, it was because of the line. That's the reputation for the line and the reputation for Matt. Okay, it didn't have anything to do with Arden or Josie being trans as far as me being muted. That's the approach of the line, especially with people that disagree with them. So there we are. Thank you for watching. I should shut up. And I appreciate you guys watching. Again, like, subscribe, share, comment. Even if you disagree with me, just, you can insult me, but make a point.